Welcome to Lead Like a Girl, where we are empowering everyday women through our stories. I'm your host, Jessica Smith, and I began this journey by sharing my life story. Now, I've joined forces with my longtime friends, Jamie and Corlin, to keep this party going. We met many years ago as young sales girls in our 20s, driven and quickly rising to the top of our industry. As the years went on, life happened, and we all found ourselves in new companies and completely different industries, still striving for success in it all. Career, family, faith, fun. Now, it wasn't easy, but we never stopped moving. Get ready for our real conversations, inspiring stories, and our big life lessons as we share it all. The good, the bad, and the funny. Welcome to Lead Like a Girl.
Oh boy. Hi girls. Welcome to Lead Like a Girl. I am Jamie and these are my two best friends, Jessica and Corlin. How are you guys?
I'm good. Fabulous.
Good.
Just as I appear.
Just as you appear.
You do appear fabulous.
All the time.
For those of you listening and not watching, Jessica's lipstick is on point. She's wearing red and a red microphone. Literally the most coordinated person I personally know.
Red is my favorite
recent
color.
Yeah, and all of your recent Facebook posts where you're getting back to your fashion. I love it. That's awesome. It's awesome. So we are here. So this is Lead Like a Girl. We're here to empower everyday women by sharing our stories. And we just wanted to mention that one of the best ways to share our stories is to share our content, right? So leadlikeagirllab.com is our website. You can listen to our podcast. You can send us an email. You can buy some really awesome merchandise. We also have TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. We have some reels out there, all Lead Like a Girl Lab. So anything, if there's a topic that you think we should cover, if you want to, or if you're interested in who our upcoming guests might be, if you just want to comment, we love, love, love feedback. So please like, share, and subscribe. I almost forgot our YouTube channel. You can actually watch us our crazy faces in this podcast on the YouTube channel if you would like. I have, they always say people hate to watch themselves or listen to themselves. They don't want to listen to their voices or watch them. Yeah, it's hilarious. Every time I watch YouTube and see us, it's like all the funny things are automatic. It's just magnified because I get to see your faces and it's just.
Don't you think it adds so much to because you can see our facial expressions and our hand gestures and all the things. And then Jessica fell off her chair one time and that was funny.
Yeah.
That was very
well, and then there was a still shot of us one time and I was laughing and I was like, I look like a hyena. Like, is that really what can we have a different picture? Corlin, you were like, no, that's literally what you look like. Like that's just what you look like when you're laughing. Okay, good to know. Good to know.
After 40 years, you've figured it out.
I now know that I have all my teeth are out all the time when I'm laughing. So I've got a really fun topic for us tonight. But first, I want to ask you a question. So this, I know Corlin. So you called it the 1 minute. What was your
first minute fast?
First minute fast. And I know Jessica, when you first started hosting, you were calling it an icebreaker. So this is a combo, I guess. I don't have a better name.
Fast ice.
This is a fast ice minute. Okay, so here's my question for you guys, and it's different than what I asked you last time we talked. Do you guys have a habit or like a ritual or some task that you do that you're 100% unwavering, like you do this? Maybe it's every day, maybe it's every month, whatever. But there's something in your life that you're like, no matter what, I do this. I get this thing done. And it could be like, I make my bed every single morning.
Yes.
Whatever it is. Tell me. I want to know.
Well, it's not make my bed because Mr. Smith makes our bed and he reminds me that he makes our bed every time he makes our bed. But I am
Can I say for
very
the
much so,
record,
like,
Mr. Musser is in the same boat. He makes the bed, and I always get reminded who makes the bed.
are you
So
serious,
we're all
Corlin?
clear.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
That's hilarious.
Okay.
Because we're like, okay.
Spoiled?
So there are many,
I should get a husband.
there
Sorry,
are
go
many
ahead.
things that I have like that, by the way, because I like structure. You called it ritual habits. I just say it's structure, right? So just to name a few, every week I do laundry on the weekends, the same time. Never missed a day. I don't care. I have COVID. I can't walk. I can't move. The laundry still will get done. Same time, all the time. What else? And then like dishes. We do not go to sleep. No one goes to sleep. The whole house will be woken up. We do not go to sleep with dishes in the sink. Just to name a couple.
I need to live at Jessica's house. Can you train my child?
Can you train my child?
No, you do
I
not
agree,
want
though.
me
I
to
love
train
that.
your child.
I always feel like the house, if the floors are clean and the dishes are done, the house just automatically is there. It's just, it's, you just can, I don't know if you're like this, Jessica, but like, I can't relax like in a messy area,
No.
messy scenario. Like,
Yeah.
so it's like, even if I know they're not done and I'm not even in that room, I'm like, let me just do this really quick.
It'll just take me 5 minutes. I'll just do it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I
How
can't
about
even
you,
think.
Corlin? Any?
I would say I'm just thinking of something that I do so regimented that it's like 100% of the time. There's, I don't know. I'm a flosser though. I mean, honestly, I floss my teeth very, very regularly. I appreciate
that.
good oral hygiene.
I appreciate oral
And that's not
hygiene.
everyone.
Can we have that be the name of this episode? So mine is a little, I've thought about this because the first thing I wrote down was Thursday night house cleaning night, because every single Thursday night I clean my house, because on the weekends, I want to spend the weekends doing all the things doing fun things. And I don't want to have to bog down my Saturday or whatever with house cleaning. So Thursday night, it is on, like, music is playing, the plants are watered, all the dishes, the fridge gets cleaned out, floors, dusting, bathrooms, it's the whole 9 yards. So, but when I was thinking about it, so as you guys know, I have been gone for the last 2 weeks. My mom's been in the hospital for a month. I've been gone for the last 2 weeks training. So I haven't been here on Thursday. So I get home on Friday night and I'm just beat. I mean, this is like a super technical job. I'm exhausted. So then one week, house actually didn't get cleaned. Next week, it was like a half-ass cleaning kind of on Saturday. And so it got me thinking, like, what do you do if you can't do that thing that you always do? Like, what if you forgot your floss, Corlin, and you're in a hotel? Or Jessica, like, what if you literally the washer is broken and you can't go to the laundromat or whatever? Like, you can't do what do you do if you can't do that thing that you do all the time?
Well, I'll use that example. The washer was broken recently, and all hands on deck, we went to the laundromat, which is actually a cool place compared to 30 years ago. And then
I'm a fan of the laundromat. I'm gonna say.
And then there was also a time where maybe it was when I had COVID or I was just really sick or something. And if I say, "Hey, babe, I need you to do the laundry," he knows how important it is to me that the laundry gets done on time. Yeah. So being on time to church, that's another thing. Like, and I don't know if that's like a peeve then, but I'm not late for work, so I'm not late for church. And it makes me really angry if somebody tries to make me late for church. And yeah, so what do I do? I just try not to not do. That's the first one.
I think so too, though. I
So
mean, the bottom line is that until the thing gets done, you just are perpetually bothered. I can go
Yeah.
a day without flossing, and I have for sure, but I am pretty regimented with that. And same thing with the other thing I do pretty like every day is I always put lotion on my face. If I don't have lotion on my face, it bothers me all day.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
stuff like that just creatures of habit. And in addition to all the other things, like I pray, I read the Bible often, those kind of things, but just those other like little sweet life things.
Yeah. Yeah.
yep.
But doesn't it kind of throws you off a little bit, right? Because you're like,
Mhm.
well,
A
wait
lot of it.
like I'm just saying, if I don't have chapstick on, for example, my lips are dry or something, I don't have chapstick. It just bothers me. It's like all I can think about is the fact that I don't have any chapstick on. But
Yeah, what is
okay,
that?
so
I think there's a name for that for all of us, but to your point is, and I've learned to
crazy.
do this. So I'll use an example that we often have people in our home. Like I love to help people. We often have, whether it's friends or family or whatever, and I like to live a certain way. So as I've gotten older, I've gotten better at this, and that is, I try not to sweat those things that I know I like things a certain way, and not everyone is that way. And when I'm sharing my space, I have to remind myself that you are sharing your space. You opened your home for others and you want to help. So, like, you can't drive yourself crazy because someone put the toilet paper roll on wrong. Okay. And I say wrong because
Yeah.
there's only one right way. And it's okay. So,
I've heard that
learned
referred to.
as
Do you
I've
have
gotten older.
bangs or a mullet?
Yeah. Bangs are good and mullet is bad. What? I can't remember which way. What's the right way? I legit pay no
Anyway.
attention to the toilet paper. So I'm sorry, Jessica. I'm probably going to be the house guest that puts it on wrong.
Mhm.
So what you said though is a really good. One of the things you said is a really good segue into the topic for today, because you talked about not being late for work, not being late for church. So the topic at hand is a quote it's an old quote. I've heard it a long time ago, but I've always remembered it. It's how you do anything is how you do everything. So it's basically
Mm,
talks about how you handle most situations, challenges, and just the experiences in your life is a good indicator of how you handle almost all of the occurrences in your life. So
absolutely.
it's gets a little bit into integrity. So just what you do when no one's watching. Okay, which is just
Yep.
an example of that. I was reading up on this, and an example made a lot of sense to me on that topic, where it said, if you cut a rep in the gym, not because you failed, but just because it was hard, it gets easier to cut corners in other parts of your life and your business and your relationship. So it's like once you start kind of cutting corners, that starts to be your habit then, and that's a change that happens with you. So and it's just, everything that we practice everything that we do is practice for who you're becoming. I thought of one thing with so I go to church every Sunday, and during COVID we couldn't go to church we couldn't physically go to church, my church. And so we were able to do online church. And what I found is the likelihood of me going to online church versus in-person church, even now today, 3 years after COVID, is still really high, because it's like, oh, I can just watch it online. Like I'm still getting church in, I'm still getting the message. Is it 10 times better in person? Yeah. But am I sitting here with my coffee and just like, I can just watch it at home? So it's like those little things like start to create these habits for us, right? And that was one thing that actually was my other like ritual, was like church every Sunday. Okay, well, I'm watching it online. That's really not the same. So I have a few questions for you guys, kind of just a series of questions that revolve around this topic. A couple of them might be a little bit shorter, but I was looking at this personality test today, and a couple of the questions that popped up really seemed like they were good with this topic, and I can't wait to hear what you guys say. So, one of the first question for you is, what are your tips or tricks to complete a task when you have no supervision? So you have a project or a task, you have no supervision, no one's checking your work. How do you complete that task? What are some things you would do to complete that task when no one's checking your work?
I create a checklist. I am a checklist person. I am that person that makes a list. And if I do something that's not on the list, I will put it on the list so I can check it off.
I absolutely know what you're saying.
Love that. But I think there's a book that was written a long time ago, but was referred to it actually by one of my mentors, the Checklist Manifesto. And it just talks about, like, if you don't have a checklist, just like an airplane pilot, that's a good example, whatever. But if I don't have a list, it's probably not getting done or bought or finished. It's just, I need it on a list. I need it on a schedule. I need it on my calendar. That's my trick.
Kind of holding yourself accountable because you've got that list and you're able to check it off. And even though you don't have a supervisor, somebody's
right.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to add to that because I'm also a lister, and I swear, Corlin, like, I've known this girl for 100 years, and it still surprises me sometimes how we're twinsies, but I do that same thing.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's ever since you went blonde.
Am I? No, Jamie's the blonde, remember? No, but I add, that's right. And it's something about seeing that list at the end of the day or end of the week or end of the month. And shit, if I did something, I need to see credit for it. So that's why I add it on there and put my little check mark. But the one thing I'll add to that is, in my mind, it's also a race. It's a competition, but it's with myself. It's with the right side of my brain and the left side of my brain. And so I want to know that I finished the race. That's all the check. And, Mr. Smith is always just like, give yourself some grace. You had too much on the list. No, because I evaluate the list before I keep adding things.
Of course,
and I calculate the time that I have. So, so that's just a little thing a little game that I play with myself. I'm competing with myself. It's a race. This is a competition. How are you going to do? And that's what helps me complete all the tasks in a reasonable amount of time.
I love it. I always like to have, I always like to have the end goal in mind, kind of going back to what we talked about last week. But if I have the end goal in mind and I know what I need to accomplish in the project or the task, that's like my main thing. It's very much like, I've got this idea and it does not matter what I do to get to it, but I'm going to get to it. I'm going to accomplish it. I just remember a couple of my positions have been positions where quite literally my bosses have no idea what I'm doing all day. They really don't. But the end goal is to increase sales. Or to make sales. And so I remember one time my boss saying, like, he goes, I don't care what you do all day. You've increased our sales 40%. I don't care. Whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. And I was like, cool. But, not having a supervisor, like not having anybody check up on you or like, kind of, hey, how's it going? I think you guys are probably really successful at that, but I don't think that's very common. I really don't. I think a lot of people, maybe they don't like to be micromanaged or whatever, but I think most people, they kind of need that. They kind of need somebody to like check on them and make sure that, they got done what they were supposed to get done, or, check in with them to make sure they know what they're doing, that sort of thing. But, okay. So the next one's a little bit different. So if you're in a team and you're doing a collaborative project, what's your role usually going to be?
Oh, yeah. I know. So I have this sign, this little plaque my niece bought me years ago. And I have it up in my office, and it says, I'm not bossy. I just know what everyone's supposed to be doing.
I like that a lot. That's great.
That's what I do.
Yeah. So the leader.
Well, and listen,
would
I
say-
try not to be a ball hog, but I just look like, let's say we're on a team, we're given a task. I wait. Okay. Like I'm the person, I make sure that I will sit and I will wait. And when I see that no one just takes the lead, that's when I say, okay, this is what we're going to do. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. I'm going to do this. And let's figure this out. So that's kind of how and I'm also the person who like pays attention to everything that everyone is doing. And I'm like, oh, hold on a minute. Be careful, because I see problems before they happen. And I'm like, hey, can I help with this? Because if we don't do this. So that's the person that I'm in the group.
When I was in college, especially as you're getting to the end of college, you have lots of group projects because they wanted to replicate real life experiences. And so I remember my last semester in college, I had 3 group projects to do, and all 3 classes I had nominated myself to hand in the final project. So while everybody in all 3 of these classes are just sitting by like, here's my part, and I'm like just literally dying. It's 2:30 in the morning and I've got 3 projects I need to finish because I just want to have my last hand on it to like inspect the final words, final things. Okay, this is good.
Oh,
And
that's
then I
so
submit-
you.
It's just-
That is so you.
Otherwise,
I do
you're
feel
putting
like-
your grade in someone else's hands.
Correct. There's no way.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no way. So
Yeah.
I'm probably that person, but I also do, I do agree with Jess. Like, I don't want to be a ball hog, but I also like to take the role in a lot of teams that I've been in is this brainstorming role. Like, hey, let's make sure we get all the ideas out on the table. So I don't like the phrase devil's advocate, but that's kind of the role. Like, okay, did we think this whole thing through? Can we see how this is going to play out? So just trying to think of all angles before we all are committed on this particular task or project.
Yeah, I was just thinking when we had our trio Lead Like a Girl summit in Mankato, we probably acted out all of these roles, didn't we? It was the 3 of us
Right.
together, like brainstorming and stuff. Because I was thinking, I don't know what the term would be, but my role typically is kind of the person who keeps everyone on task. That's usually what I end up doing. Not saying like I'm good at that or that's chosen for me, but it just kind of ends up that way where I'm typically the person who's like, okay, we got that done. What's next? All right, let's get that done. Okay, are you doing this?
Organized.
Delegating who's going to do what? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so
You're
funny.
super
I just
organized.
and I, when you were talking about cleaning before, it's like if everything's not organized, I'm not efficient. But yeah, I was thinking about that with an interview I was in a couple of months ago. It was a 6-person panel interview. And at one point I was like, all right, I'm just going to run this. I'm just going to ask you guys questions. And it worked in my favor. Got the job. So I cannot wait to hear what you guys have to say about this next question. It immediately jumped out at me because I just think this is something that everyone deals with. And it has to do with this saying of how you do anything is how you do everything, because part of that also gets to working just as hard doing things that you don't want to do as you do doing things you do like to do. I don't know how to say that correctly, but just basically like putting the same amount of effort, even if you're really not into it. And the question was, how do you deal with tasks or situations that you don't really feel passionate about? How do you deal with that? What do you think like your attitude in those kind of moments is, like reflecting your work ethic? If you're just not passionate about this task or this situation, what does that look like for you guys? How do you handle that?
So this reminds me of
delegate.
something we just talked about today.
What?
Portland said
Is delegating an
she
option?
She makes someone else do it.
That is
She gives the task to someone else.
Good answer.
That's a boss lady thing to do. I don't want to
That's a
do
good
this.
answer.
I'm going to recruit somebody. But they're going to be happy doing it. I will.
Yeah.
We'll
That's
decide
great.
together. You actually really want to do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
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 So
You delegate.
this
You're
reminds
like,
me
okay,
of
I'm not dealing.
this is what I tell my kids. And so, and even with this little one, like, I don't care what you don't want to do. Like, I will make him do the same task 3 times because of the face that he has when he's doing it, right? And I've told my kids this forever. I don't care if you're shoveling shit. You need to be the best shit shoveler out there, and right, you should be thankful for the opportunity. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. This is what they'll tell you.
And I know you're serious.
That's and the point I'm trying to make to them is it doesn't matter how awful the task is. You're there and you're doing it for a reason, and hopefully just for a season. But at the end of the day, your attitude is what matters the most. And so we are really, really big in our house on that type of stuff, is that it doesn't matter what it is. You got to do it with the right attitude. Yeah. So,
you know what that makes me think of is I was talking with my sister-in-law, and this was when Grayson, my little guy, was just a little kid. And I remember her talking about this concept of ownership of who you are and who your character is. And I remember her saying to her child, like, hey, you're a musser. Mussers don't do that. And so I have adopted that into my teaching and training and upbringing of my own son. You know, and I remember this is probably when he was maybe 5 or 6, when he was just learning how to ride his bike, and he was going, and we have a little hill by our house. And at the time, it was like everything that he could do to get up that hill, and he would get halfway up the hill and he couldn't do it. And he'd get off his bike and drop it down and just kind of throw a little bit of a tantrum on the street in the middle of our neighborhood. And I went back to him and I just said, dude, you are a musser. Like, we don't quit. And he, the next day that we were out biking, I could hear him on his bike, and I kid you not, he was holding onto his handlebars and his face was red and he was sweating, and he was like, mussers don't quit. Mussers don't quit, as he's like pushing his tail up this hill. And I just looked at him and I just like, and that poor sweet little boy did not make it up the hill, but it was like so incredibly sweet that he was like, and that has become a mantra of like how we run our household. Like, mussers do not do that. We don't, And so I think that having those things too, those non-negotiables at the front end of the task also, like you don't cut corners. We don't quit. We all go the extra mile. And those types of things will help you when you're in the weeds doing something that you really don't want to do.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's the premise really of that phrase too, is just, when you're in those tasks that you're really not passionate about, or there's that part of your job that's your least favorite. I always remember being in huge projects, and my boss would always say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Because, you get like too overwhelmed. But
I say that all the time. That's like one of my favorites. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. 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 I just think what you guys are saying is exactly right. It's whatever the task is, you still have to put in as much effort to complete it. Maybe you don't like it, but you still have to put in the same amount of effort, because you're going to put that same amount of effort into something that you love to do as well. So it's just, yeah.
But another point to that I'll add real quick, Jamie, is so even now on my sales team, nobody likes doing their weekly recaps. And sometimes they're due on Friday. Sometimes either they're not turned in on Friday, or it's just a really shitty job that it's like, come on. And so what I tell them is the direct byway that we were taught. If you can't do the small things, I have no reason to believe that you can be trusted to do the big things. So the effort you put into this weekly recap, or when you miss turning it in on Friday and it's Monday, I'm like, where the hell is your weekly recap? That tells me you should look in the mirror and say, you're probably missing some opportunities with your clients just like this, because that same thing that has me, I've been in my role almost 2 years. I've never missed one weekly recap, and it's never been late. Not one time. Not one time. So, I think that's just a perfect example that we have to take some ownership too, to say to ourselves, okay, I may not like doing this, but because I am who I am, that transfers in pretty much everything. I don't have a choice. Like you said, I have those things that are
okay.
instilled
Jessica,
in me.
say that.
And
Say
that's
it
how
one
I
more
show up
time,
everywhere.
just so we get it all good. Say it one more time.
Which
What do you
part?
tell your teammates that if you can't
If you can't be trusted to do the little things, chances are you can't be trusted to do the big things. So if you're missing on your weekly recap, I'm sure you're missing in your opportunities with your clients. It's carried over. And the last thing I'll say, and I'll shut up. I don't know if you guys did this, but Mark at Direct Buy in the showroom, Saturday morning, he did this all the time. He would put a piece of paper, ball it up, and throw it in the middle of the showroom. And we had 7, 8, 10 salespeople walk past that paper, and I knew what he was doing. And at the end of the day, if we had a shitty day, he would come with that piece of paper and say, "And this is why we had a shitty day."
sat there all day.
There's no way. I would never
Unless a member picked it up.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember sitting at other people's desks and cleaning them while I was there. So, all right, girls. So we're out of time. Thank you so much for all your insight. You guys, I like this topic. I think it relates really well with both your personalities as well. Like, it's just doing like you just said, doing those small things that's creating that habit that's making who you are. So, and just a reminder for anybody listening, we'd love it if you could like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Lead Like a Girl Lab. Jump on our website, leadlikeagirllab.com. The merchandise is awesome. And any suggestions you might have, please let us know. And if you have time, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, we'd love your comments as well. So that's all I have for today. And thanks, girls. I will see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.